What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast and weekly tarot for the week of March 21st through the 27th of 2022. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. I'm going to combine these two weekly videos into this one and keep it kind of short and sweet because uploading videos here is not fun. The Wi-Fi is really bad, so probably going to have to use my cell phone data to upload. It's going to take forever. Anyways, it's been nice getting out and enjoying some new scenery as we are starting a new astrological year. Sunday, as I'm recording this, we came into Aries season, we finished up Pisces, another year, another cycle, another full trip around the zodiac in the books, and I think we've all learned a lot. I think we learn a lot every year, and I think there's a lot of highs and lows, peaks and valleys, and that's where we come to some understandings in this life and where we grow. So we're definitely at a point now of like a graduation point, and being strong and assertive as we are with the sun exalted in Aries, that we can define, that we can assert ourselves into the I am presence, the role, the definition of who we are and what we want. As we're coming to it's like, okay, I've seen what I'm not, I've seen what I don't want. So that's where Aries is so beautiful and powerful, because it's like, nah, I don't like that. I don't want that. I want this. I am better than this. Especially with the North Node Taurus that we're living through right now, it's like you have to know your value in life. And the more you know your value and the more you can assert yourself into that value, the more you're going to receive that value. And I think that's very important to remember as we're starting this new season. And I think that people come up big, and that people energy has been coming up big for a long time. We've had so much Aquarius in the chart, the most since the early 60s that we just went through. So when you think about the big cycles, of course, we have a small cycle that just started with Mars and Venus conjuncting at 0 Aquarius. And of course, Jupiter and Saturn started a 20-year cycle at the end of 2020 at 0 Aquarius also. So there is this very powerful human aspect, this very powerful people aspect, collective aspect of we're all taking some big leap of faith to try and connect to a better reality. And this comes through the dismantling of an old one. And that's the South Node in Scorpio. It's like dismantling and destroying or destruction, whatever words you want to use. It doesn't always have to be a bad or negative thing. It's just a graduation point. It's just on to the next. Got to get through cycles here. And even with the 12th house energy that we have with Jupiter and Neptune, you know, you can think of Jupiter and Neptune and Pisces as cycles. It is the fish constantly cycling around each other, spinning. We are always hitting the highs of a completion or the lows of having to step it up more or try harder and not get lost or submersed at the lower end of life, but to realize that everything does cycle back up eventually. And this is the time to assert ourselves and take power in what that looks like in our lives. And I think this week's good for that. And I think that it brings up people a lot. Of course, one of the big transits this week, as we are now in Aries season, is the Mars square Uranus. Now, Venus just squared Uranus last week, and really just this weekend, it's done with the squares. So that's very strange when you look at relationship energy, and that happened with a Libra moon. So I mean, there was definitely some relationship either fallouts or some relationship full connection. It was either full connection or complete disconnection. A little volatile, of course, but Mars square Uranus is extremely volatile. It's definitely it has that accident prone energy of like just so gung-ho, so in it, especially with an exalted Aries sun. It's just like, let's go, balls to the wall, you know what I'm saying? Like, but we do want to somewhat take a second to think things through in life and kind of make sure that we are asserting ourselves in what we really want to identify with. I lost my computer light. I'm running kind of shady out here. You got my computer lighting my face, and anyways. It is about the identification of the exciting things in life and the revolutionary aspects of life, and even some rebellious energy. But like I said, it's about being kind of intelligent. Aquarius is very intelligent, so Mars in Aquarius definitely does want to rebel and be very unique to self in that sense, but it also is smart. It's not just going to rebel for rebellion's sake. It's going to make sure that it all makes sense and hopefully has that full connection aspect. And especially with Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius here in Taurus, like there's got to be that high level of value that does make some kind of sense, at least to you as an individual, that you can identify with, that can take you higher and really help you take that next step into the next cycle with some power and authority. But sometimes it's not all about just the full, I'm gonna do something crazy and blow things up right now. Because I'll be honest, that's the other aspect of this week with Mars square Uranus, is it's like, that's got explosive energy written all over it. Like, wow! I just watched the Titanic little like redo video, and this is like, they redid it for like 3D Extreme, and Michael Bay helped direct it, and there's just explosions everywhere. It can feel like that in life right now as we're seeing Pluto destroy time in Capricorn and our time-space continuum. It's like time's not the same, so that's all getting exploded, and there is this whole other world that does look like a giant explosion's going off right now. So, you know, we're trying to figure out what parts of our own personal life do need an explosion or are exploding because of our evolutionary necessities to kind of connect to something more valuable. So where we're not seeing value any longer, it's like, well, there probably isn't there wasn't a connection there that was meant to last forever. It wasn't meant to take you to that higher echelon. With Uranus being the god of the skies, the god of the heavens, it's always accelerating us higher. It can feel like it's throwing us into hell, especially with Pluto finishing up Capricorn. It's almost like we're falling off a mountain at times. But are we really falling off a mountain? Or are we just not connecting to the ultimate goals? Is our ambition flooded with too much 12th house stuff, with Jupiter and Neptune there, with too much anxiety, too many repeated kind of toxic patterns with people, with ourselves, with our subconscious, and not knowing how to process this new time and how to process a higher timeline, if you will. And especially with Neptune making these aspects to the nodes right now, you know, especially this week with the sextile to the north node, Jupiter's getting closer to that aspect, and then the trine over to the south node in Scorpio. It's like there is such a beautiful energy that's trying to take us higher spiritually right now. It can feel like a lot of the old stuff's getting, you know, full on, you know, just got dynamite put on it and just wow. So, you know, I would say that it's important this week to make sure that you're not letting explosions in life just drag you into the abyss or into the underworld here, that we are taking big leaps to a higher echelon, a higher plane, especially within our consciousness and our spiritual connection and our own, you know, personal divinity and our own personal connections to something that, you know, some people I guess would say is an illusion, but it is just our connection to God, the universe. You know, it's the unseen realms. It's something that one can only experience from within, and I think we can all share similar stories in the spiritual communities, and I think we all channel a lot of the same stuff and have a lot of similar experiences there, but really in the end it's all very unique to self, and we all have a different experience on all levels of this plane of reality. And that's maybe part of what could be exploding, is you're realizing how unique you are to yourself right now, and that's what is actually taking you to this higher pinnacle and letting your ambition free and letting this artistic or creative side come out in a more valuable, more productive, more sustainable manner than before. But then there's also I'm not going to go into the new, I'm going to go back into the old, and I'm going to do this cycle again. And that's where I think the biggest explosions show up in our life, because it's really where the universe is like, no, you have to know who you are right now. You have to connect to that within yourself. It's not something somebody else can teach you or show you. It's just being you in every way that you can. So I think we want to be careful about what we're blowing up, just so that we're not making accidents happen. And then I guess you wouldn't really call them an accident if we're making them happen, but it's almost like we can feel or want to play the martyr or the victim if we're not taking authority for the most valuable assets in our life, which would really be our capacity to love, our capacity to know that we can be confident and strong in a world that makes it look like you can't be. It makes it look like you need help from every which direction, and maybe we do need help. But that's where we find the real connection. That's where we find the real personalities and people that, you know, want to see us thrive. And they want to see you thrive in your uniqueness and your true self, and not just idealization of what you should look like in their eyes, but to let you be free to be exactly who you are. And that's where you're going to find the strongest connections in life right now, and I doubt that those are going to be the ones that blow up. Although if they do, there was some other reason. You know, 12th house energy too, Pisces energy is hidden enemies. And I think as we're seeing a lot of these people aspects, Aquarius is people, Uranus is people, and then here's Mars, which is you and your ego and your identity, and we all have one, and everybody's almost like fighting for their own sort of niche or identity, like, you're doing the same thing. Like, we all have to kind of accept that some people are doing life a completely different way, some people are doing life in a very similar way, but no matter what, we're all unique individuals, and we want to own that within ourselves and find the power and authority there. And I think that could be very helpful. Mercury's going to come and meet with Neptune. It just met with Jupiter, and definitely Mercury's a little confused, you know, right now, being in Pisces in its fall position, but it's also going to make that sextile over to Pluto in Capricorn as it comes to the end of the week. So Mercury's it's definitely going through it. There's a lot of razors that drive by out here in Havasu, razors, Can-Ams. People are just mobbing everywhere out here. So our mind is trying to understand so much right now, and it's not that we can't. I mean, I think that this is a time where, when it comes to understanding your sensitivities, your emotion, there's a lot to that. It can be hard to communicate that. It can be hard to express and have debate all the time about the certain things that we're feeling or experiencing or living through in our environments. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's relatable. Sometimes it's not. And these things are getting amplified, and there can be big thoughts, big dreams, big visions that are getting amplified. But there is the Pluto sextile that comes, and also the aspects to the nodes with the sextile to the North Node especially, that it is about understanding your dream and the capacity you have to create that vision, and making sure that it is reality based. We live in a reality. We live in a 3D world. Like, yes, we can accomplish. There's unlimited possibilities. I don't want to ever discount that things aren't possible, because I don't necessarily believe that within myself to be true. But there is that, like, have I done enough work within myself to do this? And believing it, if you have, and then owning that I am. Or if you ask yourself the question, you actually wonder about that, it's like, well, maybe there is a little bit more that needs to be done in this before that next tier can be made. The questions could come up of, like, why are you not confident enough in your own mind? And then that's some deep psychological truth that you have to work through too. Is it just a story? Is it just a belief? Is it a pipe dream? Like, deciphering what's excuse me, what's real and what's not real can be very difficult with Mercury and Pisces, especially with the two rulers. And it's so dry here. And again, this is where we have to really come to these moments, I think, spiritually, as Mercury meets with Neptune, and kind of understand our own divinity, our own channel, our own sensitivities, and figure out how to create those in our environments, and are they possible, and are they real, and that's unique and different to each and every one of us. So we have to kind of come to this place of realizing, like, is this just a delusional idea? Is this just made up? Am I going to get to what I think I want? Because then we have to check our ego with Aries season and Mars square Neptune, and are we just trying to connect to something because other people are trying to connect to it? Or is this something we're connecting to that actually does fit our capacities and our high standard of what I really want in life? So that there's not like a disillusionment or feeling like our mind's just in the clouds, which it is in the clouds. I'll be honest. It's definitely space. It's just spacey time. And you know, sometimes there isn't always an answer for why things happen, you know. Sometimes it's just figuring it out in ourselves and not needing someone else to figure it out for us. Which is hard too, because I think we can all look and want the answers maybe, or the I am presence to show up in another person. And the way I'm channeling this right now is that that's not where you find that. Of course, there's great teachers and helpers in this life and friends, and we learn from people so much. We learn so much from the relationships in our life, the friendships. That's where some of the biggest lessons end up presenting themselves. But there's also those lessons that you have to identify within yourself, and you don't need someone else necessarily to tell you what that is, but it's finding that power in yourself right now that can clear the fog a little bit and make things easier to understand and help you be comfortable in your own sensitivities, in your own body, and just kind of accept that we're not meant to have everything figured out in this world. Life's going to happen whether we want it to or not, you know. And then as Mercury does, it's going to make that trine to the north node, or to the south node, and the sextile to the north node right on Neptune. It's crazy. It's just like math like that's wild, with Jupiter right there and being in between Jupiter and Neptune, that are getting very close. They're going to meet on April 12th. So that's just getting closer and closer here. Neptune even comes to 20 degrees this week. You know, I think that's just where it's hard in a sense, because we are starting things, we are having these maybe intense dreams and visions, and that's so beautiful, and we don't want to think that those are a negative thing. That's not what I'm trying to say by any means. It's just like there is a realness to it, and there is like a thing, like if those are the things you want right now and that's the vision, like you got to put the work in. You got to put the effort in, you got to stay dedicated, you got to stay persistent, and there's a steadiness to it. So it's the start of things, and then it's staying in it, staying with it. And that's how the dream does come true too. So this is just, you know, I'm not trying to tell anybody that don't go do things. This is check in with yourself and make sure that you're willing to commit right now to an I am and to a creation aspect of life that really is your dream, and not just a pipe dream or a dream that's being sold to you somewhere. And then Mercury's doing the most this week, and then Mercury comes back. It will ingress into Aries by Sunday, but it also makes that sextile over to Pluto first when it comes to 28 degrees of Pisces. And Mercury is so lost at the end of Pisces. It's just like the deepest part of the ocean. It's like the Mariana Trench of the universe. Like, we don't know what's down there. We don't know what's out there. We don't know that much. And that's where we can get very anxious or very lost in our own mind, especially if we're trying to pursue things in life that are not unique to ourselves and our own connection. And it can feel like, what is this world putting me through right now? And why am I so confused? It's a very confusing time. But the sextile to Pluto is like, just dedicate to your dream, your purpose, your mission that feels divine, that feels bigger than maybe just our ego, which our sun definitely wants to just put our ego out there right now. In Mars square Uranus, we might be down to just do anything. Literally, people are going to be very impulsive. We could be very impulsive, all of us, this week. It's just about making sure that you're being impulsive for the right connections in life and not going backwards. And I think that's where also we're seeing sort of how we can connect to all the timelines in life right now. And maybe that's the biggest gift we have, is that we have the ability right now to connect to timelines like maybe no other time in history or humanity that we can, you know, speak of ever could. Like this reality is changing in ways that we can't even fathom, and time is the weirdest part of it with Pluto and Capricorn, and the systems and the programs and the way that society just is all coming to these very, you know, peak out moments here. So I think just getting comfortable in that abyss and realizing that we are on this precipice, and there is a known world behind us and what we grew up in and the programs and all these different things, and it's just being willing mentally and being strong as well right now, being strong enough to take the leap of faith when we feel called to, or to not stress ourselves out, even though It can feel like things are very transformed. Things are very volatile, very deep. You know, Pluto and Mercury getting involved, especially with a Mercury in Pisces, like, that's deep. That's very deep introspective thought that does actually really help you break chains and get out of, you know, any sort of patterns in life. So that's very beneficial. And then Mercury comes into Aries, and we're going to be fired up, especially within our communication, within our mind, because maybe we did have this transformation right now that was so necessary to break us out of what time is exactly, or what we were told time was, and just be. And just be the life and do the life that is the I am for you. And be able to communicate that with authority, and be able to communicate it with power. Whatever that may be. Like, I'm doing this now. And feel powerful in that. Saturn's also starting to square the nodes, and the moon's going to finish off the week with Saturn in Aquarius and square the nodes. So this is going to be a long transit for the next 2 months here, and then it's very big for the collective. It's definitely changing the rules. Saturn is the rule. It is sort of that societal law, the government's rules. It's just what is the system, and how do you play the game? Aquarius is already trying to break that system and kind of rebel and figure out the wave that it wants to be on. So it's interesting just for humanity having to really destroy something in a lot of ways, with Pluto at the end of Capricorn, Pluto dispositing the South Node in Scorpio, and a South Node in Scorpio square this Saturn. But there's also the square to the North Node, meaning that we do have to destroy things so that we can create things. And that's part of life. That's Taurus Scorpio. We create things, and we destroy things, and we create things, and we destroy things, and we build things, and we blow things up, and we get in and figure things out, and then we don't like it, so we dismantle it and build it again until we get it to this kind of, whatever you want to call perfect, if perfect even exists, but then we get it to where we at least want it and can identify with it. And there's something about that dedication within us all that's getting a big collective, you know, step that we all have to go through to see if we can break out of a wave and get onto another wave. So there's just a lot in the astrology that's really starting right now. It is a new astrological year, and it's just about identifying with how you really want it to go and what's in the most alignment with yourself, and not conforming. You know, I wear a non-conformist hat all the time, but I think that that's a lot of life right now is you need to conform to your own life. We don't have to conform to what we don't choose. And, you know, you can ask Aries out there, they don't want to be told what kind of life to conform to. You know, they want to lead the way. They want to charge. There's a lot of trailblazing energy right now, and all planets are direct. Everything's moving fast. Venus is getting ready to meet with Saturn next week. It's going to come to 20 degrees. Venus is getting ready to square the nodes with Saturn, with the moon. There's a lot coming into next week that is this big checkpoint of what are we conforming to, and do you give it consent? What are you consenting to that is not part of who you are? And this can go into anything in life. But this is where you take your power back by saying, I don't consent, or I do consent, and I'm going all in, full connection, or there's not a connection, and I'm out. So I hope this weekly was helpful. I'm going to pull some tarot cards for the week. It's so windy. I want to do it outside, though, because inside's kind of meh. All right, let's see what we got. I'll shuffle this deck a couple more times. Definitely wishing you all the best. I hope this information was helpful. And you know, I'm looking forward to this next year. It's crazy. You know, I started doing these horoscopes every day, April 14th of 2020, and that's Aries, of course. So I'm coming up on my, 2 years of a horoscope every day, and I'm so grateful for the support, and I'm so grateful for where doing this work has got me in my life, and I look forward to just keep going with that, because that's who I am now. That's who I was called and felt like I had to change my life to be, and I think a lot of us are feeling that way. Is that we've been called to make changes. We've been called to transform ourselves, especially over the last, you could say since 2012, but it was starting before that, of course. But wow, talk about expedited, 2020 to now. I think everybody, whether you were in the game back then or not, like the spiritual game that is, it's like, and of course people were spiritual before that. I'm not trying to say that, but there was definitely a ramp up for these times. I think we can all agree that seems to be true. But it wasn't for nothing, We're all called to some role right now for a reason, and I think, maybe a lot of it is about that full dedication to that thing, whatever it is in your life that feels in alignment. And being grateful for the past and the lessons we learned and moving on to the next ones. All right, what do we got for the sun? Death card. Yeah. We have to be, I think, identify with the transformation, the rebirth. That's the cycle of life. If there's any constants in life, it is death and rebirth. Everything else is kind of up for grabs in this reality, but let's identify with the things that do have to kind of go away and be comfortable in that and identify with that, so that we can find great power in what we are rebirthing and regenerating. The moon got the Queen of Swords in reverse. Sometimes we have to be a little cold, and I think we need to find emotional intelligence right now so that we can really feel things. And I think it is a sensitive time, and there's there's a lot of amplification, amplified energy when it comes to our senses and the vulnerabilities that we have in life right now. But we don't have to go down a slippery slope of like feeling like some martyr either. We can kind of be like, well, let me get to the bottom of why I feel this way, or why this is happening, or why I need to be more direct and know what it is that I want, or know what it is that I'm thinking. And so there's just this like intelligent aspect right now that I think we need to bring out within our own emotion. That's coming out with the moon position. And we got the Seven of Pentacles in reverse for Mars. So our identification is about finding the things that we do want to dedicate to and finding out where the payout's going to be in life. This is putting your energy into an identity, into what's going to actually bring an ROI, a return on investment into your life, and especially physically. We live in a physical world, so I think there's a lot of this is like, okay, like we've done a lot of emotional work, we've done a lot of spiritual work, we've done a lot of work, and maybe there was money work too, but this is about making sure it's like a good checkpoint, like, does this physical world bring value to my spiritual world? Am I ready to identify with that? And does it make sense emotionally? Am I living in something that's dead? Am I giving my energy to something that's dying? Or am I giving my energy to something that's rebirthing? Ten of Swords for Mercury. Coming to a complete sort of understanding in life that we got to make changes within our own mind so that we can start over fresh and not just keep going into the old. It's definitely like we're, feeling like we're at rock bottom for any reasons within our own mind. This is where we have to be mentally strong, I believe, to realize that we can change something up for something better. We can identify with new energy. We don't have to keep identifying with the old thing or keep the old patterns and the old routines going that have already been played out. Venus got the Queen of Cups in reverse. So, we want to find nurturing energy when it comes to relationships and when it comes to our values. Like, things have to be like really bringing that creative energy and making us feel good. If there's not a good feeling or a secure feeling, there's a reason for that, and you just have to identify with that and call it what it is. And I think that's where the moon getting the Queen of Swords in reverse is a big deal too, because it's the emotional intelligence right now that is actually going to bring more emotional satisfaction instead of, God, am I going to do this and go through this again? Like, no. Jupiter got the Seven of Wands in reverse. I think that's saying that we need to step up, we need to step up for the things that we do want, for the abundance that we can have. We need to hold our position and hold our ground. Like, there's certain things we really have to hold the line and identify with, because there's a deep resonance there and a full connection there. And if it's not, then what are we, are we just giving up? So there's something about holding the line when you have to hold the line this week, and that's probably going to bring more value to your life. It's probably going to bring more good things and amplify the things that you do want. I think if we're passive right now, especially in Aries season, are we really going to get the things that we want? Saturn got the Eight of Cups upright. I think everything that we are identifying with right now, that it feels like we're holding it, if we're making excuses, right? If we're playing the martyr, playing the victim, we're making excuses and putting things on the world or things outside of us or on governments or on whatever the fuck. This card to me is like, you're doing this to yourself. You need to figure out what the reason is within yourself, why you're letting something hold you back that isn't your own need for change. Because the Eight of Cups to me is always like, we need to walk away from things. And we need to come to that emotional understanding of that and get out. Or we're just repeating that 8 loop, that infinity. It's like we're trapped in time. Sometimes we got to turn our back. Sometimes we, got to identify with what that is and get out of there. Pluto, another 8 of Wands. Pluto's saying that quick love, a lot of that quick love energy can come in and find you right now. That could be where the transformation's actually showing us some of the most beautiful things in life. And the quickness, moving quick right now, can bring a lot of benefit. And I know I was saying in the astrology, Mars square Uranus, that's just really quick energy. And the Eight of Wands is quick. So I think if we quickly identify with the things in our life that are bringing love and stimulation in the right places, more of that's going to be attracted in. And it's about getting rid of and dismantling and taking apart and throwing away all the other stuff that isn't bringing that, beautiful love energy into your life. And I'll pull one more overall. Four of Pentacles, because everything kind of has to be based around this really, knowing exactly what you want, knowing your value, knowing your worth. And I think we do need to hold on to what that is within ourselves, and that identification is very important, and it can take us a long way. So I love you guys very much. I hope that this video was helpful, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll catch you for the next video. And looking forward to the rest of the week. I'll be around. Much love. Peace.